Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. When financial advisors think about the RIA channel, they think about things like ownership, they think about control, they think about ultimate investment selection and technology selection. And while a lot of times this is the case, there's many financial advisors that we're talking to on a monthly basis where things have just changed inside of their organization, where they've been negatively impacted or their clients have been negatively impacted. And they were decisions that have been made that were totally out of their control. And whether a firm has been bought multiple times and rolled up into larger RIAs, or over time as a firm grows, compliance becomes burdensome and becomes like one of the places that maybe they previously left. Or maybe a financial advisor feels like they're not getting enough equity inside of an organization versus the amount of value and production that they provide to the firm. In short, we're just talking with more financial advisors than ever that are part of the custody platform that are really in search of more control. And Bill Laird, one of my favorite clients, he was really one of the first people I had this conversation with back in 2023. And together, we just learned a whole bunch through the process that other financial advisors that are unhappy at RIAs are really going to want to know about in order to just best position themselves to be able to exit, their business seamlessly in the future. So this is just going to be a story today on how Bill came to the realization he was potentially wanted to make a move, just about his journey of exploration, how he ignored some of the really shiny objects that were thrown his way throughout the due diligence process, and also how he ended up at NewEdge Advisors launching his business, Riverside Wealth Advisors, in 2023. So, Bill, I apologize for the long intro, but thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, honored to be on. Glad to get to talk and have some folks learn from this conversation.
I love it. I really appreciate the time, and I know a ton of people are going to get a lot of value out of this. If you don't mind, just kind of starting, like talking about how you started in the business and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, it's a great story. So I'm 25 years in wealth management, and I talked to a lot of young people about starting out, but without planning, had a pretty ideal start. I worked for the trust department of a large bank for 8 years, and I got to learn the markets. I got to learn how seasoned advisors and sales professionals, tackled client problems. And I learned how to talk to folks. So within that organization, I had various roles in research, portfolio management. I sat alongside the folks that were bringing in and servicing the business, and felt ready after getting two designations while doing that, CFA and CFP. Felt ready to enter the financial advisory channel. I did that in the bright year of 2007, um,
Nice.
with no clients, but great backing at Raymond James, and I learned a lot about sales and talking to folks. Built a business I was proud of at the time, and that was the start.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the RIA that you were a part of? It was a pretty big machine. It was a bigger RIA. It had a lot of moving parts that advisors would find, or clients and advisors would find pretty attractive. Can you just talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, it was a unique opportunity in the year of 2009. I was presented the opportunity to join this large CPA based RIA, and local office was a group of professionals that were well respected locally, and really wanted to provide a breadth of service to the end client. So it's a model that's probably more popular today, but maybe was young when I started there, where many of the clients are seeking, they might be at the end of their business life and getting to that retirement life, and they're seeking to stay with the same professionals that they trust and they've trusted for 10 or 15 years. So that trust was strong with the folks that I worked with, and we were able to provide great tax advice and really appropriate investment advice to those folks, and we built a really nice and happy client base.
Yeah, I mean, you had great tools and resources. You had outsourced money management, you had, tax, like wealth, all in one spot. And there's a lot of firms doing that today, but, a pretty attractive business model for sure. Um, Prior to leaving, like you built a pretty successful business. What were your assets under management prior to leaving?
Um, Probably 500 million or so over
Nice.
at, yeah, when I
Awesome.
left.
So, what were some of the changes over time that just made you realize maybe you didn't have the control that you thought you had? Or what were some of the things that just kind of made you pick up your head and realize, hey, I just want to check out and see what else is out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that concisely, but my time was my use of time was evolving, and well, I think I showed up well in the interactions with clients. I was really balancing quite a bit, especially closer to the end there. So, I just felt a little stretched and kind of limited in how I could grow, and didn't feel as good about the client experience as I was in the earlier years. And it was just really just an my time was really stretched. I had two roles outside of serving clients, which is really what I love doing all along.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a full-time job in itself. And,
Yes,
being a part-time financial advisor with $500 million in assets is not a good business model.
very challenged.
Yeah, for sure. So, when you started taking a look out there at some of the different options in the industry, I mean, we had conversations together. We kind of did a high level education in terms of, what else was out there. The wirehouse world, the independent broker dealer world, the RIA world. I mean, what were some of the things that were really, really important to you throughout the process? Some of your true north type of things. And what were some of the things that just really excited you when you started exploring?
Well, when I kind of sought out a new opportunity, I knew some of what was out there, and you helped kind of open my eyes to a lot more. So, and there's probably more choices 2.5 years later than there were, in 2023. But, what I was really seeking was independence. I wanted to be able to provide a um, investment model, a solution model that um, really only had modest limitations. The limitations that are really important. We're a highly regulated industry, but I really wanted to be able to find solutions for clients that met their needs and be able to take advantage of, the evolving solution set that our investment partners make available without huge hurdles to getting things on board. So that was really front and center for me, and um, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit, but I chose partner in NewEdge that really is front and center on a lot of those things. They have 5 custodians we can use. Uh, the solution set that I wanted to use and was using was readily available day one, and it keeps evolving. So it was really the place that I felt that had the most flexibility, had folks that I trusted, folks that were growth oriented and future thinking.
Yeah, I mean, so I remember just back when we first had our initial conversations, there were some pretty unique things going on inside of your specific situation that, we kind of guided you along the way to like a couple different, firms that made a lot of sense. So for the RIA listeners on this call, number one, your assets were 100% at Schwab, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So they were at Schwab. We educated you about how easy that process can be, making a move from one RIA to another. And as long as you keep the same custodian, that's a pretty easy transition. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more in the future in this podcast, just like your overall experience, because that's promised in the industry all the time. And I want to hear it straight from your mouth, someone that had their hands in the paperwork, how that went. Also as well, you were outsourcing your money management. And, that is a big benefit to a lot of RIAs, a lot of larger organizations out there. What a lot of financial advisors don't know on the independent side, outsourcing your money management is really expensive. So if you have a $2, $3 million book, that could be an additional, 600, 700, $800,000 of cost for all of your clients. And then
Mhm.
also as well, you just making a move from a firm where, the clients were familiar with that organization and just wanting to feel comfortable. There were a lot of firms that threw, a lot of money your way, potentially millions of dollars to make a move to a firm and not take that easy Schwab route.
Mhm.
And you took the route that was, best for your clients with the least amount of disruption. So, I just thought that was like really, really awesome of you throughout the process to not get distracted by all of those shiny objects. But just talk to me about that a little bit. I know you wanted to go to Schwab. I know you wanted to go to a firm where you could like outsource your money management, but some of these firms were offering you some pretty life-changing money. Like, how
Yeah.
did you stay focused? Like, how did you make that not like front and center in your mind? A lot of financial advisors make that mistake. So would love to hear about that.
Yeah, you said it well. Yeah, I really wanted to prioritize my client needs and happiness, and Schwab to Schwab is kind of the simple way to do that, but and respect Schwab a great deal. But I really wanted to be able to one offer some of the same things I was used to, and and be with somebody that again was forward thinking and looking at new ways to serve clients, new ways for clients to save taxes. So kind of those shiny objects, it wasn't smoke and mirrors. There's some great organizations and had serious conversations with more than one organization, but the full package involved, having some flexibility to serve some unique client needs that I had. Um, and NewEdge really delivered on that.
Yeah.
And they continue to present us ideas and solutions that are really enlightening and helpful to clients. And I will say like NewEdge is transparent and it's easy to understand my relationship with them and my client's relationship with them. You hear about those costs that you mentioned. I call them like it's like going through one of those toll roads. Like you're paying a fee just to be able to access some solutions. That really doesn't exist here.
Yeah, upfront, what you see, what you get, pay structure,
Hmm.
had the ability to, save a ton of money on money management, great research team. It really checked a lot of the boxes for sure. When you were looking through the different RIA options out there in the industry, we probably looked at five or six different ones together. I mean, when you were taking a look at like a truly open architecture, RIA, where you own your business, where you have the ability to make, a lot of local decisions, probably more like tools and technology, investment options. Was there anything out there that just really, kind of blew your mind versus where you were at?
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed among the choices that have the investment that these organizations have made in investment solutions. And, I had a role as a CIO at my old firm, so I love investments. I love digging in, but I love in the parts that I want to spend my time serving clients. So if we have a team at NewEdge that can implement something I'm proud of, but do it in a more efficient way, think that's great for me and them. And there's tremendous investments in solutions like that. The other thing that we've implemented quite a bit is some of these solutions that help clients reduce capital gains taxes. That wasn't unique to NewEdge, but it was available right away when that kind of solution came out, and we've used it. So that, and then there's kind of some more um, things you might not think of. So this is a small business, so we have accounting for the business. At NewEdge, we have a partner that is familiar with NewEdge, does bookkeeping for a lot of the practices here. It makes that part of my life easier. So just little things that save me time and just allow me to do the thing that I really intended to is spend 85% of my time with clients. So it's really been eye-opening, and I think the industry is evolving. There's a lot of great competitors and firms out there that are really, putting the client and advisor first. And if we don't get to it, I'd say, this model that I'm existing under offers a lot of flexibility. Some don't. Some are integrators, and that may work for some folks, but we offer all the resources, but we get to use the resources as we choose the resources that we feel like serve our clients best.
Hey, breaking in real quick. I really hope you're enjoying this episode and finding my YouTube channel of value. If you're a high performing financial advisor that can use somebody as a guide or a resource to explore all your transition options out there in the marketplace, I'm a non biased, independent transition consultant that can help make this process so much easier for you. And another plus, it costs absolutely nothing to work with me. If you want to have a conversation, please feel free to text, call, email, DM me. My contact information is all over this episode, and I'll let you get back to it. For a financial advisor that hasn't picked up their head in the last 6 months to explore the RIA channel, like you don't know what's out there. And I don't mean that in like a cocky way. Like there's 15 people on my team, and we have weekly conversations about industry trends and things going on and new firms that we should be aware of. And almost every single week, a $15 billion plus RIA is coming out of nowhere that is solving for something very specific for financial advisors that's made them say no to independence or RIA in the first place. And many of these people, like Alex Goss, CEO, I mean, he is a financial advisor himself. He understands the wants and needs of advisors and is rolling out these solutions. There's other financial advisors that are moving to the RIA side, and they're remembering their pain points, their fears, their frustrations, some of the things that they struggled with, and they're entrepreneurial and they're building solutions about it. And we're seriously learning about it every single week. So where the broker dealer space is kind of consolidating a little bit, we just see nothing but expansion on the RIA side. So just make sure that you're up to date, because there's something that excites me at least every other week that I learn about on the RIA side. It's really interesting.
Totally agree. It's an evolving landscape, and again, I think if you build it right, it's if it's advisor first and advisor friendly, clients are going to be happy. The clients, you know, will realize if you're having to do things because somebody in a large city, hundreds of miles north of you is telling you to do it. So offering that flexibility and is really important.
It's great. It's great insight. Let's talk about the transition for a second. So You know, in the industry, a lot of people position the same custodian to same custodian transfer as really, really easy, or everyone likes to, use the word seamless. Um, Tell me about your transition. Like how did it work out? Was it in fact as easy as advertised? Just give us a little bit of insight into that for someone else that might be in your shoes.
Yeah, the kind of nuts and bolts of a transition, especially custodian, um, it can be pretty easy. And we did that 2.5 years ago. So Schwab to Schwab is relatively easy. There are some steps that were taken at the time that are not even needed today. I'll give you an example. So an account that goes from Schwab to Schwab today does not need to re-add their bank accounts. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but you transpose a number, client doesn't have a voided check readily available. It can just take some time, and getting clients money on time is really important. So right now, client can move over to an advisor on Schwab. I'm sure that it may be very similar to other custodians. Actually, I know so at Fidelity. Uh, with really one piece of paper from the custodian. Obviously, there's some fee agreements that go along with it, but it's just detail work, and there are folks that can help you with that and make if you're not a most of us don't want to type all that data ourselves. There's folks that can serve you well in doing that for you.
How long do you think the transition took until like you felt like you were back on your feet and were willing to go on I know you're an outdoors guy, willing to go on a hike again, or like how long did you feel like until you were like back on your feet?
I'd say, you know, the heavy lifting was done within 4 to 6 weeks, but wanting to get my feet under me, wanting to have the clients feel really comfortable. I was right here in this office for 6 to 9 months before I felt you know, really comfortable.
Yeah. And regardless of how quickly the assets come over, I mean, any job I've ever had, it was a tough first 6 months. It's new systems, new people, new processes, things like that. And it's just an adjustment no matter what.
Agreed.
Yeah. Um, what was your asset retention at the end of it all?
Yeah, yeah. Without getting exact numbers, it's over 80%.
Mhm.
Um, and it was just, the clients, it's a relationship business. So clients value that personal relationship that I've had with them for 10, 15 years in many cases.
That's awesome. So let's talk about just kind of life after the transition. You've been in this for a couple years now. You have more flexibility with technology. You have more flexibility with your P&L to be able to invest in what's important locally in your own office. Like what's going on with Riverside and how are things different than when you were at your previous firm?
Yeah, I would say I'm really proud of our client process right now. And part of it's ideas that a lot of us had in our head, but were hard to implement. I'll give you the biggest way that we've changed our client experience. So,
Please.
coming from a tax firm, I learned from some excellent CPAs. These folks are not only good practitioners, they were mentors, and they cared about their clients. But I did learn sitting alongside them the nuts and bolts of a 1040, and I by no means want to, or in the future want to replace them, but I wanted to be able to do more than back of the envelope calculations. Now, my clients trust me, and they'd probably be fine with back of the envelope conversations, but they're making important decisions alongside me. And if I can give them real data to make that decision, I think that feels better and gives them peace of mind. So we use a solution that analyzes tax returns. It's a brand name out there. I think there's some other good competitors, but we use Plan right now, and that allows for each and every one of our clients to get a summary of their tax return. That's something that turns a couple dozen pages into 4 pages. It allows for us to get a review and summary. I tell them that at the worst, they're going to understand their taxes better if we can't find some opportunities for them to save taxes, but often we can. And that summary also extends into some scenario analysis. So we can insert variables like, hey, I want to do a $50,000 Roth conversion, or I want to give 50,000 to charity. How does that change my tax bill at the end of the year? I can do more than back then little calculations now. And I think going into 2 years and clients are some of which are in th year three of this process, it just gives them peace of mind that that there's somebody looking over this. There's really planning for them, and I've learned more by doing it. So we certainly love the CPA partners that we have, and we're we let them fully use their skill set in the most complicated client questions. But we love that we can um, some of the planning opportunities that matter to 80% of our clients right here in this office. So that's been the biggest thing. And then just incorporating technology into our meetings. So I'm not alone in adopting an AI note taker, but we've been just amazed at how well it integrates into our CRM. So those things that you talk to clients about doing in the future, and you might remember 4 out of 5 of them, AI remembers the fifth one and tells you about it and actually assigns it within CRM for you to do. You approve it, but it's just it's allowed for efficiency, and we want to help our clients and not get bogged down.
And that just blows my mind, Bill, because like in my practice as well, with the AI tools that I've been using, the auto dictation tools, the note-taking tools, like I've put at least 8 hours back into my work week, just being able to send next steps to my teammates or being able to, take notes faster or craft an email like just based off of my voice instead of having to type things out really succinctly and it understanding all the nomenclature from the industry and kind of like learning from you over time. There's so many financial advisors out there that I'm talking to, like they're just rolling out something like a Copilot or something like that. And,
Hmm.
other firms are on their 5.0 version of what they're doing. So I just don't think some financial advisors understand like how far they're potentially getting left behind before they go through the due diligence process and take a test drive with some of these technology stacks. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Of course.
So, I mean, Bill, if you were a financial advisor and you were just starting out in this process, you're starting to have doubts that your firm might not be your long-term partner. Like, what would your advice be to another financial advisor out there, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, yeah. If you're thinking about it, you should explore it. I mean, and exploring isn't just getting lost in Google or the trade publications, because you'll learn some things, but there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of ways to do business, and again, the shiny objects can distract you from some things that you might not like on the backside of things. So, my advice really would be to consult a professional like yourself to, you know, do an objective review. So, you don't work for any of these companies, you work for me, and you know the industry better than I do. So, I remember I had some ideas at the beginning, and we explored those alongside your ideas, but you've got to have somebody that's consultative, that's listening to you, and they're going to know a lot more than you because they're in this every day. So I'd say, yeah, get somebody on your side versus, hearing a bunch of sales pitches that are hard to parse through every time. So that'd be my advice.
I appreciate it. And thank you for the plug. I really appreciate it. I think another thing that we did really, really well together in the beginning, like we spent a lot of time introspectively, like understanding like what your strengths and your weaknesses are and like what was really, really important to you. Like you wrote that down on a piece of paper. Throughout the process, we made sure that those things didn't change and that those things were still really important to you. And really at the end of the day, like how organized you were through the process, I think that really helped you stay really focused on your true north. And
Hmm.
it really helped some of those shiny objects out there, like the office space or plugging into a lead system or getting a huge deal that maybe wasn't, but the firm maybe not being in the best interest or easiest for your clients for the transition. I really think it helped you make the right decision in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. You got to be objective and you got to be willing to learn and set aside some of your predispositions about things and kind of let the process lead you to the right place. But yeah, you want somebody on your shoulder because the shiny object you talk about on your podcast a lot that can get you and you just don't really want to you want your clients to be in a place that's comfortable. You want them to be there for a long time. So you got to make the right decision on the front end.
And it was especially, a lot of financial advisors don't understand until they're kind of deep in it how lonely this decision is. You were out there on your own. You couldn't talk with your colleagues about it
Yep.
because of you potentially getting discovered. You can talk with your wife, who I know is one of your teammates now, but at
Yeah.
the time, obviously loves you, has your best interests in mind, but maybe isn't, super knowledgeable about the different offerings out there in the industries and the pitfalls. The recruiters of these firms, it's no fault of theirs. I mean, it's their job to talk about, the best reasons why you should join their firm, like their pitch, but they're not telling you the things like why you shouldn't. So we're kind of uniquely positioned to number one, be on the same side of the table as you, the way that we're comped, but also just, be your unbiased soundboard throughout the process and, one of the loneliest times in your professional career for sure. Um, so yeah, I appreciate you saying that. So, I mean, Bill, just switching gears, I mean, what's next for Riverside? Like, I know, you have some exciting new people coming onto the team. Like, what's the 5-year vision?
Yeah, we're really proud of what we've got here right now. So again, 6 to 9 months in, you get comfortable, but we're really comfortable now and we're really proud of the process that we're creating and we're open to evolving it. This is a team where we kind of talk and figure things out together. So yeah, I've got a great new teammate, Mary, who's a CFP and really has seen and worked with some good practitioners. So she's bringing in some new ideas in practice management as well as great planning experience and kind of our visions and kind of our work product and work ethic are really aligned. So I think it's a situation where it's a multiplier having her on board. And then we've got a great administrative staff. You mentioned my wife, Michelle, who's really helps create some leverage when we need it. And Amanda is outstanding. She's got a great attitude. She's got a lot of great experience working with custodians and she's efficient and friendly and liked by our clients. So she's been with us about a year and a half now and has really hit her stride. So, we're focused on treating our clients well, giving them the best possible client experience. Because of those efficiencies and the efficiency on my time, we're able to grow, and we have grown organically in the last 2.5 years with clients. We've actually, grown really well with new client opportunities, with existing client life events, and we're a much larger practice than I've ever been, but we're serving a, a, a very reasonable number of clients well. So I'm focused on organic growth. The future presents itself for inorganic growth, and I've got more staff to serve that. I certainly will consider that in the future. But we're real happy here, with the team that we've got, serving the clients the way we are with the tools that we have, and it's only getting better. So kind of that's kind of the future for me. A couple things that I've been doing consistently, I think work well is kind of outreach in the community and on LinkedIn. You never know the return, but I've seen some tangible return on both of those things, and some of the community work that I did 5 to 10 years ago just wasn't feasible with my time commitments in 2023. So I'm kind of proud and enjoy being back out there. We're giving back through financial literacy event that we host. I'm participating as co-chair of Melanoma Research Foundation event in the fall, that I'm really proud of, and we invite clients to, and what we're going to add to the plate is some educational client events this year with us and other professionals. So we hope that our clients enjoy and learn from that. Lastly, we'll have an intern this summer from Stetson University, which is my alma mater. It's a hidden gem in Central Florida that has a great student-run investment management program called the Roland George Program. So we're happy to have an intern from there. We'll be making that announcement in a few weeks.
I I love hearing it, Bill. I'm so proud of the success, the decisions that you made throughout your due diligence process. And I just see this happen time and time again. I think financial advisors, when they make the leap and they break away, they're like, how am I going to grow? Like, how are my clients going to feel, small business versus big institution? But with the different ways that you can communicate with your clients, with your centers of influence, with your prospective clients, tell them about like who you are as a person, like what you're doing with clients, how you're doing things differently, so much more regularly, getting updates from you on capital markets or whatever it is, from your voice of someone that they know and trust versus, a chief investment officer that they've never met before. Like all these things compound into, such a more personable experience. And I just see it, I see the same story time and time again that like I'm getting more referrals than I've ever had before, even from people that were in situations where they were getting referrals at their old firm. It's just
Right.
so interesting and like one of the things that gets me so pumped up about what I do.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think happy clients breed referrals, and clients that know that, you're working in a situation that you truly enjoy and you're here and focused for them, they're much more willing to refer other clients. And then we've even had situations that were competitive where some of the tax planning that we can do, people who are successful are also busy. And if we can really solve for their full financial life, they appreciate that. So it's us, it's also the tools and it's time that's worked really well for me in the last 2.5 years.
I love it. I love the story. I think this is going to help so many financial advisors that were in your exact same position and just kind of, don't know where to start. So thank you so much, Bill, for the time. And if anyone has any other questions, please reach out to me, no matter where you are in your due diligence process. I'm happy to help. My contact information is all over my podcast, my YouTube channel, and my website, corey.whalen.com. I have hundreds of videos on there answering the questions that you're probably asking yourself right now, white papers, case studies, and just more testimonials to get a feel of what it's like to work with me. So I hope this was helpful. And Bill, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks. Honored to be a part of it. I appreciate your time, Corey.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to staying in touch and best of luck.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.